Well, hello, and welcome back to the Chamber Vibes podcast. I'm your host, Foster Garrett, Director of Marketing and Events for the Bedford Area Chamber of Commerce. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, welcome. Let me just give you a rundown of what's going on. So every week I interview a different chamber member to find out what they do and why they do it, recorded right here in beautiful Bedford, Virginia, broadcasting on Grove Street FM, and brought to you by Media Squatch. But before we get to the actual podcast, as always, I need to tell you about some of our upcoming chamber programming. We have two events next week on October 23rd and October 24th. And the very first one is a big one. It's the Bedford Forum. We host this every single year so that all of our town and county voters can hear from the candidates that are running on the ballots opposed for different seats, whether it be Board of Supervisors, Town Council, or State Legislature. This year, there are only 4 seats up for Town Council. So we are having the balloted candidates join us for a Q&A. It'll be moderated by Tim Saunders, who is incredible and moderates all of our events. So if you've been before, you know how wonderful this will be. This is not a debate, but rather it's a civil informational session for everybody to just hear from the candidates, learn about what everybody stands for, who they are, and just become more aware and conscious of what they're voting for. But since this is kind of a smaller candidate forum, last year we had, I think it was something like 23 different candidates from running for different bodies join us. So this year we only have 4 balloted candidates, and there are some write-ins that will be joining us for the informal meet and greet part at the very beginning of the event. So it's a little bit smaller, a little bit different, but you'll also get to hear from Mary Zirkle, who is the Director of Community Planning and Economic Development for the town of Bedford, about the comprehensive plan. So the comprehensive plan is really exciting. It is kind of what we want Bedford to look like by 2045. That seems a long time away, but when it comes to planning and getting stuff in place, especially for infrastructure and economic development, those things take a while. So if you have input, there is a survey. You can look it up. It's on the town of Bedford. I think it's called betterinbedford.com. That's the economic development website. But you can go ahead and share your feedback there, or you can come to the forum and hear more from Mary herself about some of the things they're looking at. The day after that, this is for really anybody, whether you live in Bedford, Lynchburg, Roanoke, what have you. We are having an after-hours networking event at Magnolia Mountain Realty. And Hope Metzger, who's the owner and primary broker, she goes all out. Her and her team go all out for us every single October, and they host us. And it is just a fantastic time. They will be having us at their main location on Longwood Avenue, but they did very recently open a secondary location, which is super exciting. And it'll just be a great time. So that'll be October 24th. It's free. You don't have to RSVP. And it's from 5 to 6 p.m. Come enjoy a beverage, enjoy some snacks, and meet some new people, make some connections, and gain some leads. It'll be a great time. And you can learn all about all of our upcoming chamber events on bedfordairchamber.com. We have a full calendar of events. And I will drop our phone number at the very end so that you can ask us questions and call us and find out more about the chamber. But listen all the way through for that. Without further ado, please allow me to introduce today's guests, Kelly Hitchcock and Ada Hunsaker with the Central Virginia Planning District Commission. Thanks for coming.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
Okay.
Yeah, good morning. It's a pleasure.
Well, good. And I know that you guys both are coming from Campbell, Lynchburg area. I know it was a cold morning, but I hope you enjoyed the drive here. I feel like it's so pretty.
Yeah, you can't not enjoy the beautiful scenery as you're coming either down 221, 460. It's invigorating.
It is really nice now that the leaves are starting to change too. Now that it's cold, I'm just waiting for the colors to pop because that makes it all worth it. Because going from it being in the 70s this weekend to in the 40s and 50s, oh man, I hate it so much.
Yeah, I actually think, at work, I go in the elevator and with a brisk morning, I just feel like it invigorates folks.
Mhm.
You can just see the gleam in people's eye with the thought of fall and, yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
that's a good way to look at it. Well, before we kind of get into the Q&A portion of this, can you both just tell us a little bit about yourselves, your background, and how you became involved with the CVPDC and what the CVPDC actually is?
So my name is Ada Hunsberger, and I am the program manager for Central Virginia Commuter Services, which is the CVPDC's commuter assistance program. I've been with the PDC for almost 5 years now, and I've just been doing commuter assistance for the past year or two, but we're really excited to launch a new program, so looking forward to talking a little bit more about that today.
I know that's been a long time in the making, so I'm super excited to kind of learn more about how it's coming to fruition.
Yes.
Well, Kelly?
Yeah, hi, I'm Kelly Hitchcock. I'm the Deputy Director of Planning at the Central Virginia Planning District Commission. I have actually worked at the PDC for a long time. Started out as a planner, been there almost coming up on 25 years.
Oh, wow.
And so have worked through a lot of programs, but have always had transportation as a portion of what I have done throughout. And actually, in my past life, I actually was the program manager of our commuter assistance program,
cool.
where we had a different name. So it's exciting to see Ada taking on this role and sort of the change in the program.
That is
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, for people that may not be aware, what is the PDC?
The PDC, it is a regional planning agency, and they are set up across the state of Virginia. There are 21 planning district commissions. They are set up by the Code of Virginia to serve as regional planning agencies. And our board is made up of our regional localities. So we have Appomattox, Amherst, Bedford, and Campbell County in the city of Lynchburg and the towns therein. And we work together to do regional planning initiatives and also specific tailored projects as requested by localities. So again, we are one of the 21 within the state. So we work on federal programs, state programs, and local programs, all for the benefit of our region and directed through our board structure.
That is really cool. I think that people would be kind of shocked to see how many pies the PDC's fingers are in, so to speak. I know that a lot of organizations that kind of fly under the radar, they don't get the credit they deserve. But it's really interesting how much of an impact you have on Bedford and beyond. So you've mentioned transportation and commuter services. What are some other things that the PDC helps with?
Oh gosh,
I know the list is crazy,
and it changes a little bit just because we do have a work program. But we work on housing initiatives. Sometime in regional housing, we in the last year we did a regional housing study. But we also do small tailored projects. We're actually doing a project here in partnership with the town of Bedford, Hill Street Project.
Yeah.
We do hazard mitigation planning. We do economic development initiatives. We do, let's see, what do we do? Transportation. We also do we do environmental work. We do partnership with a Chesapeake Bay program and DCR.
Oh, that's
cool. Watershed initiatives. We do stormwater programming. So it takes the gamut of project initiatives, and then we really work in partnership with state agencies and federal agencies, all of again under the direction of what our board structure wants us to work in any given year. So it does change, but what does not change is the transportation side. We're always in transportation. We have a dedicated programming through our urban programming and our rural programming, and through our partnership with VDOT and Department of Rail and Public Transit and FTA, that is a constant.
Well, that makes sense in a lot of ways. I mean, as we continue to grow, especially at Smith Mountain Lake and Forest, just talking in terms of our county, our roads are always, they're getting more filled. They're not holding up to the population, to the new businesses and stuff like that. So they've got to continue to, accommodate that growing infrastructure. So that's really cool. And I know that you guys just got a very huge competitive grant for a safety action plan. for transportation. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
I absolutely do. The PDC, we applied through USDOT. It's called the Safe Streets and Roads for All program. It was funded through the infrastructure bill to have $5 billion over 6 years, or 5 years, pardon me, to consider actions to reduce accidents that are serious and cause fatalities. And so that's not looking at all accidents, but it's about that vision. It's called Vision Zero. With the notion that anyone killed on the roadway is too many. One's too many, right?
Absolutely.
And so that is the focus. So we received a $280,000 grant that we're matching with $70,000 in local dollars to do a region-wide safety action plan. And that safety action plan is looking at data. So we have data that shows where we know where there are accidents that have taken place in the last 5 years that have resulted in serious injuries. Those are called A accidents, or where there have been fatalities. Those are called K accidents. And so we have that data. But regrettably, we have all experienced that moment where we've slammed on the brake or there's been those series of near misses. So data are dots where something has happened. We also need to find out where there are areas where there are near misses or where people really want to be able to walk safely, to be able to move through their communities. And so this project we want to hear from the public. We have a website. It's Central Virginia. It's cvsafestreets.com. And that is the location where this study, which is going to take place over the next 8 to 10 months, for the entire region. And we have our consultants through EPR and Kimley Horn will be guiding this process. And so it really is... It functioned under the notion that accidents happen. Humans make mistakes. There is something called a safe approach that USDOT and VDOT uses to consider the accidents that take place, because not all accidents are the same type of accidents, right? And the reason that there's an accident is not the same. And so when you go to our website, people can actually click on a dashboard and they will be able to see where accidents have taken place and what type of accidents they are. Because regrettably, not every accident is a function of an engineering or something wrong with the road, right? Regrettably, if someone has chosen to drive too fast, or even more regrettably, if someone has chosen to drive when they shouldn't have driven through they're impaired. Those result in accidents that have nothing to do with the design of the roadway. So part of the solutions that this project will be look at, this safety action plan, will look at where are the areas where there may need to be some engineering or some redesign or some opportunities, new sidewalks, new opportunities, but where might there need to be education? So we're really looking at all of those opportunities over the next 8 to 10 months.
That is awesome. I think people, we don't really think about how dangerous it is to drive every single day. And in Bedford County, we're so geographically diverse. We're so large. A lot of communities are isolated. And if you don't drive, you can't get anywhere. But every time you get in a car, you take a risk. And I had the privilege of sitting in on a safety focus group for this plan last week. And it was really interesting to see some of the data with the different types of crashes and who's wearing seatbelts, who's impaired, who's left the roadway, who's avoided a deer. All of those things have impacts and kind of, what you can do structurally to make the roads more safe. But like you said, there's nothing you can do with a road that's going to make somebody wear their seatbelt. So it's like, how do you reach those people? And it's really interesting to me, the people I know that don't wear seatbelts. Some of them are older and they're like, it's it's Nancy Reagan's fault that I have to wear a seatbelt in the first place. And some of them are younger and they don't understand the consequences of doing that. And I know people that have passed from not wearing a seatbelt, and their car hasn't been totaled or anything. They just weren't wearing their seatbelt. And it's so devastating because it takes you less than a second to do that. So I think as this project really progresses and the data tells you more and more, and people, like you said, not just the fatalities but the serious injuries, but also the near misses and the areas where there are blind spots, and especially like on country roads. Like I'm from near Joplin Mill Road, which was one of the 10 top most dangerous intersections on the list. And I was like, that is a really horrible spot. But it was like number 8 or 9 on the list. And I'm like, I know people that have died there. I know people that have gotten very hurt there. And it's like, how do you fix that? So it's really cool. When I was in the room, there were 15 different people from across town and county, people that worked for Parks and Rec, that worked for VDOT, that were economic developers, that were community planners, that just had some sort of investment, whether they're law enforcement or whatever. They really care about making sure that our community is safe in all ways.
Well, and so, yes, that focus group was an invited event because we really wanted to hear, to help us lay the foundation. But we want to hear from the public.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're getting out of the gate of this project, and we have launched a survey. Again, that's accessed on that website, cvsafestreets.com, or you can get to it by going to the CVPDC website. And it allows people to use an interactive map that they can drag and pull to a specific location to say, and they can say that maybe their concern is that they wish they could bike here, or they can pull a little icon where someone can walk and say, wow, I walked here, but this feels unsafe.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no limit to what you can share by taking this survey. And then we're going to compile all this data, and then we will be back to the public in the beginning part of next year to share what we heard, and then move through this safety action plan. We're going to have a safety summit where we're going to invite the public to really, that's an opportunity that'll be in the public to here's what we heard.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to talk about strategies, some of them being education, some of them being engineering, where we'll have the engineering to talk about some of these locations that we've looked at. So we haven't picked a date for that, but it will be at the beginning of the year. But the survey is open now. And for those that participate, you have a chance to win $50 gift certificates and gift certificates to local establishments. And so again, we will be talking to the public, and especially, well, not especially, but we want to make sure that we are intentional to talking to those that might not feel comfortable traditionally talking about transportation planning or engineering or, governmental projects, that they feel like they maybe don't have a voice. Well, you absolutely have a voice in this project. And so we want to hear from you. We want to hear from those folks that maybe can't drive a car and are isolated. And Ada's going to be able to talk a little bit more about that and what we're trying to do to meet the needs of all of our citizens who have different transportation needs, different obstacles, and how can we, do those things as well.
Well, awesome. Well, I feel like we've segued pretty well to you, Ada. Tell us about the Commuter Assistance Program.
Yeah, so for those that aren't familiar, a commuter assistance program, the purpose of the program is to connect commuters with alternative modes of transportation, whether that be carpooling, vanpooling, transit, walking, or biking. And so our program, we have kind of a two-pronged approach. So for commuters, we have a ride matching program that is available through the state's Connecting VA program. So we partner with the Department of Rail and Public Transportation to get individuals connected on the Connecting VA app, where they can go on and basically just see the transportation options that are available to them in their area based on where they're going. And on there, you can see carpools that are in your area, van pools, or even actually now there's an option that you can see people that are biking along similar routes that you might want to go. So you can get what they call a bike buddy. And the nice thing about using the app is that no matter where you are in the state, you can use this. So if you're traveling, you can still kind of find something wherever you're going, but also just that as you log trips in the app, you're able to earn rewards. So that's another incentive for folks to be like, okay, I'm interested in carpooling. I'm not really quite sure. Maybe I'll try it a few times and, I'll earn a reward or two along the way. And that's kind of a nice small incentive for folks. So that's kind of what we have on the individual side. But then we also have a ton of resources for businesses, which I thought would be perfect for this podcast. Yeah. So we offer a large array of services to businesses that can be tailored basically just to fit your individual needs. All of these resources are free. You don't have to pay for anything to have a consultation with us. The grant funding is made available through grants from the Department of Rail and Public Transportation. So that's great. And basically we can just meet and figure out, basically tell you what our options are, and you can tell us what your needs are. So just a few of the things that we do, we can help you start commuter assistance or commuter benefit programs. So what does that mean? It can mean a whole bunch of things, but for a lot of employers, especially in this area, van pooling is a great option. So having commercial vehicles available that 5 or more employees can be in is a great way to kind of get your employees, especially folks that are driving long distances from one place to another. And so van pooling is a great opportunity in this area to kind of get people that are going along similar routes. And we can help kind of figure out like how feasible that is, where people are coming from. And then other things for commuter benefit programs, we can implement telework policies. We can, in the more urbanized areas, we do things like buying bulk transit passes and things like that. So it's kind of nuanced, but there's a million things that you can do for commuter benefits. So I guess really getting started and talking about what a business's needs are, what they're looking for, what their employees are looking for. And sometimes to get to that point, before you can even, come into a meeting and say, this is what my employees need, you kind of have to figure out, well, what are the challenges that they're facing? So we can also help with that. So we can come in and do data analysis or surveys of employees. So we can use things like census data or even just employee survey data to say, okay, well, I'm having a lot of employees that are coming into work late or they're having issues with absenteeism. Like, why is this the case? Is it just a fluke thing? Is it with one employee? But over time, if you're able to see trends, then you're able to identify like, okay, these are the issues that people are having. With the cost of everything going up, people are getting really burdened with the cost of transportation and maintaining and owning a personal vehicle. So we can come in and kind of be an outside party to say to employees like, hey, what are the things that you're experiencing? What things would you be interested in trying? So if we come in and say, would you be interested in van pooling? And everyone's like, nope, not interested. Well, okay, so maybe we have to take a step even further back to say, what is van pooling? Mm-hmm. Why is it relevant? Would you be more comfortable carpooling with a coworker or something like that? So there's a lot of ways that we can kind of use that process to draw out information for employers. And even if they don't seek a carpool, van pool situation, it's kind of just helpful information to have. So we have services for that. In addition, we can even just come in and do maybe like lunch and learn events where we just talk about, okay, these are the opportunities available through Connecting VA. If you're an individual that's having transportation difficulties, let's see how we can help. So we're really we have so many services available. And I think if employers can just, spare 30 minutes to say, I don't know anything about what my employees are experiencing, or this is what I'm hearing from my employees, and how can we work together to try and solve some of these issues? It's just a 30-minute investment, maybe even less, and just to get started. There's no no money involved, no anything. So I think it's a really great program. And as people are getting more and more bogged down in struggling to pay for a personal vehicle, like the cost of living just continuing to increase, this program just becomes more and more valuable over time. And I know employers are seeking ways to just help their employees, I don't think there's any employers out there that are just like, my employees are whatever, I think especially in Bedford, there's a lot of community feel.
There is.
And, there's like a camaraderie, I would say, especially in the smaller areas between, like I know this family and we've, so anyway, all that to say, we have lots of resources for employers and for individuals. But, since we're on the Chamber of Commerce
podcast.
Right. Exactly. Well, so the best way to get connected, in case you're interested or anything, you can go straight onto our brand new website. We just launched a brand new website this week, which we're super excited about. It is CV, as in Central Virginia, so cvcommuter.org. And if you go on there, we have tabs for commuter resources and for employers. And at the bottom, my contact information is just everywhere, beyond everywhere on this site. But you can drop an inquiry or call me up. And, at any time, I'm just happy to chat with folks, even if it's just a quick phone call to say, I don't know if this is going to work for us, but I'm just willing to hear what you have to say. That's great. We're open and happy to help and looking for some new employers that would be interested in partnering with us.
I'm making notes because there's so much good stuff that you just talked about and I need to ask about it, but I don't want to forget anything. But the first thing, I think this is such an awesome program. The fact that there's no real cost involved for anybody, it's really just to serve people. That's excellent. And you're right that business owners, they care about their employees. And so many people are trying to add, more benefits so that they can provide for their employees and, stand out as being competitive employers. And a lot of times, like you said, costs are rising and people just can't compete in the same way with larger corporations and stuff. Like, if we want to talk about top dogs, BWXT, they are members with us and I love them. And they know they're top dogs. They've started adding pet insurance and incredible things like that. But most employers can't be a BWXT. So this is a great way to just add another benefit to your package. And especially like, I love to use Facebook, not for myself, but for work purposes because Bedford loves Facebook and so does Lynchburg. And there was somebody the other day in a jobs group that said, I just got a great new job, but the buses don't start running till 5 a.m. in Lynchburg and I have to be at work by 5 a.m. Is there anybody that I can ride with? And people were like, what, have you tried Uber? Have you tried this app? And somebody was finally like, are you really asking strangers on the internet for a ride? And they're like, I'm desperate. I don't know what else to do. And this type of thing where people that are actually commuting and that are welcoming others to ride with them, I think that's such a great solution to the individual problem. Because it's scary to put yourself out there and say, I need a ride. But all of these,
It is. But I think another unique thing about being able to work with employers is like, I know, for example, GLTC has been able to work with some employers in the past where, say, the bus was running till 10 p.m., right? But the start time was 10:15.
Mm-hmm.
They were able to either extend the route or the employer was able to push the time back just enough. Yeah. And so I'm not saying that's the answer in every scenario, right? Because this program serves the gap between that. But when we're able to have those conversations with employers at the forefront, that's what the value really is in
Absolutely.
this, is seeing, okay, where are those small things that we can get people connected to other options other than just having to have their own personal vehicle, because it can be such a burden.
Yeah, and I think what's a really neat thing about the carpooling app is if you're a single, you are a person, and the thought of, gosh, are you really going to ride with anyone? The neat thing about this app is it allows you to go on and you can talk about what your needs are. I'm this person, you register. Here's my commuting route. This is where I need to go. And then you can say, you can literally limit the parameters of who you would want information about a carpool. So you might be a female that really is only interested in carpooling with other females. You can put that within the app so you can tailor your
That is really
inquiry,
cool.
right? And so it provides that way of putting the information out there. So there's an opportunity. And in our area, right, you're moving through our area, you're going 29, 501, right? There's not a million different roads. So the likelihood that there are folks moving along these primary arterials, big roads, other words, sorry, transportation speak. The likelihood that there is someone moving somewhat similar to where you are, that you can tailor that ride is a really wonderful element of the ride matching programming.
And I think that the fact that there are so many options and that you can really customize what suits your needs best, I think that's awesome. And I think also you guys, like, a lot of what you do is taking in information, doing surveys, looking at the data and making plans from there. And I didn't really understand how critical that was until I interned for the Weldon Cooper Center for Public Service. And the work that they do is absolutely amazing. And sometimes it takes somebody that is completely removed, is neutral, not involved, doesn't have any stakes in it, to take that information and to talk to people and show them, I'm not here for any ulterior purpose. I'm here for you. I'm here to help you and to help everybody that shares these issues with you. And I just think that's awesome because I was talking to a business coach and I asked her, when you go in and you talk to employees, not just the top dogs, when you talk to employees about, what are the issues you're facing at work? What's the culture like? Why are you being late? Why are you having this problem? I asked her, I said, is it, do you think it like you're stepping on people's toes when you do that? And she's like, no, they invited me there. And they know that they have issues. By me doing this, I'm able to really take it into my own brain and talk to these people and get to know them. And it works really well. And I think it creates such an impact. So I definitely recommend getting in touch with Ada because this is just an excellent program. And I can't wait to see the website because I know that's been a long time coming.
Yeah, we're really excited. We've put lots of information on there, but like I said, my contact information is all over there. I'm happy to chat anytime. And, just 5-10 minutes to just say, could this even ever work for us? And maybe the answer is not right now. Maybe the answer is in 6 months from now, we're, going to do some more recruitment. We're going to get new employees, we're going to expand our business and that's when we'll need help. And that's great too. Or maybe the answer is, yeah, we're not sure. We don't have a lot of money to spend to give new employee benefits. That's especially for small businesses right now, as you said before, that really struck a chord with me. Like employers want to help their employees as much as they can, but it's difficult. And so doing things like this is just that one little maybe edge up or maybe one little thing to improve employee satisfaction or whatever it is. It can really just contribute to just taking the burden off employees, and it takes a little bit of a burden off employers to not have to find money to do these new fancy benefits and incentives and all that.
Yeah, and I think it opens so many doors, not only for employers, but for employees as well. Because if you're scared of like making a huge commute every single day because your car is on its last legs and you can't apply to jobs that are like, more in your field or maybe will allow you to make a higher salary or whatever, just because of that, then there are options. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you're able to do with this.
Yeah.
Well, any last remarks?
Just last thoughts as far as the safety action plan, as we're talking about businesses and recognizing and kind of taking it full circle from where you welcome folks to talk about Bedford doing its comprehensive plan. So the safety action plan and allowing folks to talk about what do you want the transportation? What elements within the transportation would you like to see?
Mhm.
Right. And so, how that impacts businesses that
Mhm.
would like foot traffic or want to see these welcoming streets that encourage residents to come in and visitors to visit, to come to these businesses and stay in these locations. And then, as Mary Zirkle will talk about the comprehensive plan and saying, hey, this is what this roadway looks like now, and this is how I can walk on that roadway,
Mhm.
or how I would love to be able to ride my bike or more
Mhm.
safely. We were at Centerfest and really enjoyed talking to residents the massive amount of people that came to Centerfest. And I was really talking to a young family that had their adorable children in their strollers and lived right in town. And they were talking about some areas where they just didn't feel safe
Mhm.
crossing the street. And so, so this really brings that back to the businesses, brings it back to roadway safety, and brings it full circle to Bedford's comprehensive plan. So those thoughts that you have here, we share those with Mary Zirkle, and actually working with her on the transportation chapter of the town's comprehensive plan. So,
Awesome.
there's really this tapestry of connection between the work in transportation and the work in businesses and the work in economic development and the work in creating these communities that honor what you have
Mhm.
currently, but ask what you want to have in the future, and what are the opportunities to think about these things. So again, we encourage you, and I really hope folks will check out our project for the safety action plan. And it's just been a pleasure. So thank you so much.
Thank you both so much for joining me. This has been an awesome conversation, and I'm so glad that you made that last remark, because absolutely, we're all on the same side. We're all working together. We all want to advance together, and that's really what I believe in. It's what our chamber believes in. So it's been a pleasure,
Yes, thank you for having us.
of course, and it's always good to see you.
Take
Well,
care.
thank you. Well, if anybody wants to get in touch with us, I think the CVPDC has done an excellent job of telling you exactly where you can get all your information. But for us, call us at 540-586-9401 or visit our website, bedfordareachamber.com, for information about our mission and the perks of becoming a member. But also on our website is a full directory of our membership, which is helpful for finding all sorts of great things in the region, including the Central Virginia Planning District Commission. But that's all for today. Thanks so much for listening, and keep an ear out for the next Chamber Vibes podcast.